Heavenly Father, we want to thank you that you have given us a task to do and that we can put our hearts and hands together and do your work. And I pray that you would give us ideas, not just maybe in Washington, D.C., but what you would have us do even right here in our local communities. Thank you for bringing Leila here safely. I pray that you will bless her words tonight. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. So Dr. Leila Lewis is a dear friend of mine. And we met at a clinic in Tampa. Yes. And we have worked together on a couple of clinics, but we also collaborate kind of behind the scenes in between sessions as well. And it's been a great privilege. And she has a burden on her heart to combine medical missionary work with evangelism. That is her passion. So you're going to hear about that tonight. And I just want to share, Leila, that there are two families here that were not in the United States during the height of the pandemic, but they were watching Liberty and Health programming. And that's the Mikala family and the Pedregosa family. Mikala family in France, Pedregosas were in Thailand. And they were searching for truth and information. And interestingly enough, I remember Pastor Mikala saying, and I saw you up there, and I thought, wow, that's somebody I know, because we go way back. So it's just amazing how God brings people together, and they have a passion for medical missionary work too, and all these people do. So welcome, and please share what's on your heart. Tell us exciting things that are happening.
Well, thank you, Betsy. And yes, Betsy's like my sister. I love her dearly. We're on and off of our events. Well, actually, let's go ahead and play this video. They're gonna, I think, is this the media montage or is this the one he just finished? Okay, let's play the media montage and then I'll present a little bit and then we'll play the other video. So, yeah.
First attend free health care. It is just what the doctor ordered for thousands of people all across the Bay Area.
There is a free healthcare help available at the Phoenix Convention Center. This is what they're calling a mega clinic. It's basically everything you need under one roof.
New tonight, a mega clinic is offering free medical care at the Phoenix Convention Center. No questions asked.
Well, now is a chance for you to score free help from a clinic in Phoenix.
Yeah, a pretty incredible opportunity.
Medical care can often be a difficult thing to access, both around the world and here in the United States. However, an organization here in America is taking steps to change this, one place at a time.
Do good for others and have them spread some good in return. That's part of the mindset for a free mega healthcare event.
And those behind it are truly uplifting Arizona.
Dr. Lewis, we're seeing so much happening behind you, pretty much a makeshift hospital. How are you guys able to do all this?
Preparations are now underway at the Tampa Convention Center for one of the largest free health clinics the Bay Area has ever seen.
Dr. Stephen Mahoney is an orthopedic surgeon at a large valley practice. He volunteered to do light surgery inside a licensed RV parked in the large ballroom.
Dr. Andrew Chung, who flew in from California, is one of several hundred volunteers helping to make the free clinic possible.
Sometimes there's a gap in society, and as a Christian organization and as a Christian myself, it's just a privilege to just reflect Christ and being able to meet a need where there is a need.
Desiree Flew Ellen live from downtown Phoenix with more on this event and any of the work that you can get done, right, Des? This is spectacular.
Oh, the list is long. There's actually a surgery happening under this roof right now as we speak in the convention center.
This is a wonderful opportunity to provide people holistic healing.
Yeah, it's right, because some of them are working, they have healthcare coverage, but maybe they don't have vision or dental.
Exactly, and that we have seen that time and time again, that dental and vision are the number one and two sought after services for sure.
I'm just so impressed. Thank you so much, Dr. Lewis. You guys, these guys are doing incredible work here, and I found it very interesting. She said there are volunteers from 6 different countries here, the farthest from Ireland, here to help our Arizonans get health care that they need and services that they need.
Yeah,
I'll send it back to you guys.
Doctors and healthcare professionals are all
So when you watch that, you may be thinking, now where is the spirituality side of this? How do we get to this holistic aspect? And I can guarantee you that it does happen. I'm going to tell you a few of those stories right now. I am going to preface it by saying I have a passion, and my passion is, I guess my true passion is to follow wherever Jesus wants me to go. And sometimes that leads us in places we never imagined. In fact, usually it does. When we're really, really wanting to follow Jesus, sometimes he takes us in places we never imagined. And so I want to start by saying that God has a plan for each and every one of us. He does, and he wants to use us to his utmost potential. The question is, are we willing to be used, right? So sometimes that means we may be finding ourselves in difficult situations. We just flew in to Washington, D.C., and as Betsy knows, we had prayer and hope of meeting with a lot of different people, the mayor's office, the Department of Health Services. There's all kinds of giants, if you will, wanting to stop the process. How old was Caleb when God finally allowed him to defeat the giants? Anybody know? 85. He was 85 years old. And I've been really inspired by that lately, that at 40, and we may think, might be a little bit on the older side, but at 40, he was like, we can do this, guys. Come on, we can do this. And everybody else is like, we know the story, right? No, you can't. God waits 45 years until he's 85, and he says, I'm just as strong as I was when Moses sent me out to go spy out the land. Let me, Joshua, let me take those giants now. And God did. God blessed him, and he took the giants out. So no matter how young or how old we are, God will take the giants out if we're willing, right? If we're willing to be moved. So I'm going to tell you very briefly how the first mega clinic began. It was 2013. I was praying. I had heard a presentation, and I felt impressed that this is what God wanted to have happen. And I had no idea. Now, this is before anything had ever been done like this in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, any way, shape, or form. I'm like, Lord, I'm a missionary's child. I was born in Ghana, West Africa. And so I've been overseas, and doing overseas mission work is a little bit different than here in the United States. I'm like, God, I'm a board certified obstetrician and gynecologist. How are we going to do this in the United States of America? We have licensure regulations. We have this, we have that, we have this. And I start naming these things in my mind, and God just kept impressing me. No, I'm asking you to do this. I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't know what this means. I don't know where this is going to go. Speed forward. We had a question to the Lord. Where should this first event be? Should it be in San Francisco? Should it be in Los Angeles? A few of us fasted and prayed for 3 days. We said, Lord, we want you to tell us where you want us to be. Which location do you want us to be at? God made it abundantly clear he wanted it to be in San Francisco. I said, okay, Lord, here we go. Called the mayor's office of San Francisco. Oh, yes, we're very interested in you guys doing something. Now, there was no guys. There was never been done. There was never any event. There was never any history. There were no guys, if you will, to do this. But the Lord was impressing this was what would be happening. And so we presented this to the mayor's office. They said, okay, this sounds interesting. Yes, we'll let you partner with us. This sounds great. I'm standing up. By the way, I'm a walker. Does this thing work? Is this on? No? Okay, sorry. I don't usually stand behind the pole, but I just tend to walk. That's okay. So I'm standing up in front of the entire Central California Conference pastoral leadership. All of them were there. We were all, to get everybody excited. Let's bring the congregations together. Let's bring the volunteers out. We're going to present holistic healing, not just physical, okay? Not just physical. But, and also, this is a side note. Sometimes we, Adventists, we get the impression that, well, the right arm is kind of an ends to a means, right? It's kind of the process of where we really get them to, we get them to the real truth, right? I don't believe so. I believe the health message is God's love message. It is the end. His end is love, right? In all aspects, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual healing. That is his end. And so we don't have to worry that we're somehow gonna jump to the real truth at the end. It's all his truth. It's a beautiful, the arm is a part of the body. It's connected. It's what softens the heart. It allows us to present other information, but it's not like okay, now we got you. And so So here we were, I was presenting to the Central California Conference. I was just about to present to them to excite their church members to get involved. And whether you're non-medical, you're medical, we want everybody to be involved. And I look at my phone, I'm about to stand up, and there's a text that comes through from the mayor's office, and it says, "We are so sorry, Dr. Lewis, but we were investigating a little bit further, and because you are a Christian," even though they knew I was a Christian organization, I think they investigated Seventh-day Adventism a little bit more. I'm not sure, whatever the issue was. "We've been looking at it, and we're so sorry, but we can't work with you. It's going to be a conflict of interest." And I was like, I'm about to stand up in front of all these pastors, and the whole room is full of pastors from the entire Central California Conference. And I thought to myself, Lord, what in the world do I say to these pastors? I mean, we're getting ready to do this event. What do we say to them? And you know that voice, that calm voice? Leila, stand up and present as though this is going through. Look, okay, Lord. I'm not going to give specifics. We'll just stand up and we'll say, praise the Lord, this is what we're going to do, and we need all of you to participate, and we need all of you to bring your church members, and these are the dates, and this is what's going to happen. And so I did. I stood up, and inside of me, I'm thinking, nobody in the whole room had any idea, like, there's nothing going on here except for faith in Jesus. I leave there, I immediately do my part. Now, that's a big part. I know all of you know that. But so often, sometimes Christians feel like, well, I'm going to pray, and then I'm going to leave it to God. And that's not what Jesus wants us to do. He wants us to pray, and then take action, and then let him continue to open the doors the way we should go. And so I immediately left that meeting. I was kind of like, Lord, I don't know what to do. I started making phone calls back to the mayor's office. Please, and we were only there for a couple days. I said, could I please just come in for just a few minutes? No, Dr. Lewis, it's useless. We're just not going to be able to work with you. Oh, please, could I just come in and present for persistence? Okay, that's one of my blessings and curses all at the same time. So I said, okay, Lord, I said, please help me, Lord. So I said, could I just please come in just for a few minutes, just for a few minutes to present some of the things that we're going to do. Okay, Dr. Lewis, I guess you can come in. So I had an appointment for the assistant to the mayor of San Francisco. Thinking, Lord, I have no idea what I'm going to present to these people, but Lord, you're just going to have to tell me what to do. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I felt strongly impressed. Get up, go upstairs, because at the time I had 4 little tiny children. My youngest was like 1.5 years, and my oldest was 13, I think, and everybody in between. And so I got up, go upstairs to the business location at 3 o'clock in the morning and start typing. And you need to type out your wish list of what you're going to have at this event. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to have at this event, Lord. We've never done anything like this. The church has never done anything. Got up, went upstairs, started typing. These are all the services that we, whoever we is, are going to offer. And I write out dental, and I say cleanings, fillings, extractions, crowns, and I say medical, and I just start naming. These are all the physicians that we're going to have and all the different specialties. We didn't have anybody except prayer with Jesus. And I take these 3 pages of notes, every service you can imagine, all these different things. It was my big dream wish list, right? And of course, I put on there, no bait and switch, never been a bait and switch, ever, ever, ever. We're holistic health. We have chaplains. We have literature people to offer holistic healing, and that's on my list, right? I take this printed up copy. I go into the mayor's office. I sit down with this gentleman, and he had 3 ladies in the room with him. This is San Francisco. This is 2013. And you can tell different lifestyle situations, okay, of some of the members that were there. And I sit down, very cold. The man was sitting at the end of the table, clearly cold. He was the one that had put the nix on the whole thing. And I said, I'm Dr. Lewis, blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay, whatever, whatever. He was trying to get out of the room. I said, I just want to let you know. And I just took my papers, as though God had impressed me with at 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, I just want to show you some of the services that we're planning to be provided for the patients here in San Francisco. And this is some of the services. And he starts flipping through it. He goes, oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh. Then he goes, his demeanor kind of changes. He goes, I just have a couple questions for you. He said, you're a Christian organization, Seventh-day Adventist. I see. He said, so your lifestyle might be different than some of the people here in our community. Are you going to not treat those people? Are you going to treat them differently? I said, oh, absolutely not. I said, as Christians, we believe that we have this blessing of sharing just like Jesus did to all people, the same. It's beautiful. Really? Oh, absolutely. Not all people are welcome, no matter what. Really? Oh, well, just 1 second. Picks up his phone. I'm sitting here at the table with all these other people at the table. And he goes, hi, I'm sitting here with Dr. Lewis. He said, I'm talking to the Armory. I said, oh, okay, that's good. That's good. I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what the Armory is, or whatever. He goes, I'm sitting here with Dr. Lewis, and she has an amazing program. God has an amazing program. And they'll be doing this, and we want you to basically give her the Armory. And I'm like, he goes, okay, it's all taken care of. Hangs up the phone. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's wonderful. Praise the Lord. He's like, I said, so this Armory, yeah, you can go see it if you'd like. I said, wonderful. Praise God. I left the meeting. One of the ladies that was in the room walks with me towards the door. And I have not told you this one, Betsy. She's walking with me towards the street, and she goes, you're Seventh-day Adventist. I said, yes. She said, you know, my father-in-law would be so grateful that I'm participating with you. I said, oh, really? Why is that? She said, well, I was born in the mission field. I was born to a Baptist missionary family. My husband is the son of a Seventh-day Adventist minister family, and he and his family, the father-in-law's family, had been earnestly praying for his son and his daughter-in-law, who had gone completely secularist, had left all Christianity whatsoever, let alone Seventh-day Adventism. He's been praying earnestly for us, and I can't wait to tell my Seventh-day Adventist father-in-law in Canada that I'm working with the Seventh-day Adventists. This is so wonderful. And she was just teary-eyed. That woman stayed with us the whole way. She came to the gratitude session. She kept saying over and over again, I cannot thank the Seventh-day Adventists enough. Now, I don't know what happened after that, because we lost a little contact over the last 10 years, but I know one thing for sure. God was answering the prayer of that Seventh-day Adventist minister in Canada for him, his son, and his daughter-in-law. It was so beautiful. Well, from there, we go to the event, and I'm just telling you the first event because we're going to come to this one in just a second. So we go to the event. Actually, I went to the Armory right after that. I had no idea what the Armory actually was. I walked up to the Armory. There's this big door, and I could see in one room it was just kind of empty. I kind of looked in, couldn't see anything. I have all my little chickies walking along with me. And I walked up to this huge door, and I'm like, nobody's coming. Finally, this big burly man opens the door, and he looks down at me, and I'm there on the stairs with all my little kids around me, and he goes, can I help you? And I said, well, yes, we just want to come into the Armory and take a look around. Could we come around? Because we were just told, blah, 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 the mayor's office, yada, yada. Ma'am, you don't want to come in here. I said, oh, yes, we do. I just want to take a look and plan for this event that we're going to be doing. Ma'am, you don't want to bring those kids in here. I said, well, it's okay. It's all right. We'll just take a quick look. Ma'am, this is an adult film studio. Do you want to bring those children in here? And I said, no, sir. No, I don't, but thank you very much. God put us there. On one half of the building was the adult film studio. On the other half was the floor, 25,000 square feet. I think it was 40,000 square feet, where we did the mega clinic, that very first event. It was so phenomenal. The bouncers for the dark side, they called it the dark side, the left side, became our security guards on the light side. And the second day of the event, we were 2 days in Oakland, 2 days in San Francisco, 1 day in Oakland. The second day of the event, the big burly guy and all the other bouncers came down, tears streaming down their faces. Kid you not. They said, thank you so much. Thank you so much for bringing light to this very dark place. Thank you so much. Same day, the gentleman from the mayor's office, the one who was so antagonistic and so concerned, came down to the event. He walks around. Very clearly, we're Seventh-day Adventists. We have singing throughout the whole thing. We stop the whole event and we have prayer and ask God's blessing on the food before the patients and the volunteers all get to eat together. It's a very heavenly experience, right? So the man comes, he's walking through, he's just like dumbfounded. And he walks up to the ministerial director of the Pacific Union Conference at the time and myself. And he says, Mr. So-and-so, who was the ministerial director, and Dr. Lewis, I just want to tell you something. I may be a homosexual Jew, but I am now the #1 supporter of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. If you ever need anything in the future, you come to me. And that's exactly what happened. In just a few years, 2 or 3 years later, the Central California Conference did have a need. And they did go to this gentleman, and the gentleman did help. And I'm just here to tell you that in Isaiah 58, God tells us that his true health message, his righteousness, it says your righteousness, we have no righteousness of ourselves. It's Christ's righteousness goes before us, and his glory is our rear guard. So we have a front and we have a back protection. And I cannot tell you how it has been both a front and a back protection. During the pandemic, it was a front and a back protection. God opened unbelievable doors by standing for his beautiful truth of liberty in Christ. And those doors that were opened during this process are part of one of the reasons that God opened incredible doors over the last 2 days. I have not sat down today except for the drive over here from meeting after meeting after meeting, and there were no meetings. Everyone was like shutting down all the meetings in anticipation of this event. I didn't this coming out here for this little trip, except for Betsy and you guys. We knew we had a few churches, couple churches that we were going to get to meet with, but as far as different dignitaries and different people that we really need their participation in order to make this happen, it wasn't happening. And by God's grace, we met with, and I won't say their names, but some very, 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 they're just people, just like all the rest of us, but God has given them a position of influence to be able to help other people. And tomorrow, miraculously, I still can't believe it's happening, I will be meeting at the mayor's office and the Department of Health Services. Today I had the opportunity of meeting with 5 or 6 different congressional members, and that was very exciting to see what God is doing. I don't know where this is going to go, but I'll tell you what I believe. I believe that Revelation 14, to every nation, kindred, tongue, and people, is our calling. It's our calling. It's our message of love. It's not an ends. The health, again, is not the ends to the means. It's all his love. His love wants to be shed to the entire world. And of note, the dates of this event, our clinic and our tour, are the exact same dates that NATO will be at the convention center just a few streets away. All these big world leaders right there in Washington, D.C. I think it's a neat opportunity. We are here in our area, but guess what? God has people here and God has people all around the world, and he's wanting to make one final call. I'm not saying this is the final call, but I sure believe it's an opportunity to make a call to God's people to love him, to give up of all this discord and sadness and come to him. And so with that, I want to tell you just briefly a little bit about this event. And we have a few flyers, and we have some extras too if people want them. I know Heartland may want some extras for the college. If you do, we can get those too. I can leave some of those with Betsy. So the actual clinic itself starts on the 11th, but I want to tell you about the whole week process. The whole week process actually starts on the 7th. July 7th will be the final orientation there in person in the DC area. On the 8th and the 9th, we're going to be having a Liberty of Conscience tour, and I'm excited to say one of our congressional members is arranging for us to be able to go to a tour of the White House and to a tour of the Senate and the House and the Capitol. We will also have the opportunity of having a meeting. I'm very excited about this one, a meeting underneath the Capitol in one of the buildings. And I want to we're in the process of inviting our VIPs to come to that, where we can again share Jesus' love in physical form with these somewhat sometimes more distant individuals, or so they seem. They're not distant, but sometimes we think of them as distant to ourselves. We will be then having on the 10th, July the 10th, will be the setup day for the mega clinic. So this is where we need all hands on deck. We're going to set this thing up, God willing. We get it done in one day because that's what we have to do. And then the clinic will be Thursday. It's normally, all the other clinics I've ever done have been a Wednesday, Thursday, half a day, Friday. This time around, we found that patients can't always come during a work day, and so we want to offer Sunday as an additional day. So we're going to do Thursday, Friday, Sabbath celebrations on the National Mall on the 13th, and then on Sunday the 14th will be the last day of the clinic. So that is the schedule. As I mentioned, many of you may be medical and some of you may not be. 80% of the volunteers are non-medical. Everything from hospitality, walking patients from location to location, to the food service, preparing wonderful food, to the music program, to the registration, to the child care department, a full program for the children. Children as young as 12 can volunteer on the floor. The younger ones can participate in the children's program. They get to make little crafts for the patients, bring water to the patients. Our oldest volunteer was 95 years old. She worked in the clothing department. That's a very sought after department. In fact, when we did the San Antonio event, there were 2 baptisms as a direct result of we had men's suit warehouse actually donated a bunch of men's suits, and 2 people became acquainted with Jesus, studied with the pastor, and became baptized. It's an interesting story. They had been living together. They came to the men's clothing department. The pastor that was walking them around said, he was trying to convince the young man, well, why don't you marry the young woman? What are you doing? And long story short, he goes, well, I don't have a tuxedo. I can't get married. He goes, well, let me walk you over here. And so he walks him over, and it just so happens that the last suit that happened to be there was a tuxedo, and it just happened to fit the man perfectly. And he goes, well, here's your suit. And he goes, well, I said, well, what's keeping you from marrying the young woman? He goes, well, she doesn't have a wedding dress. I can't marry her. He goes, oh, and the makeshift tailor, volunteer tailor, he goes, well, it's really strange. Someone donated a wedding dress. It's never been used before, but let me pull it out. He pulls out a wedding dress, and the wedding dress fits his bride. And so the pastor goes, okay, so what's your reason? Why won't you marry the young woman? And he goes, well, I don't have a pastor to get us married. He said, well, I'm a pastor. Next thing they know, they were married, and then they ended up becoming baptized. And so you never know. I mean, it could be a suit, it could be food, it could be greetings. You never know how and what Jesus will use to turn people to him. And if you're willing to be used, I've always said that if you have a smile and you have a heartbeat, can you smile? We can all smile. And we all have a heartbeat, or we wouldn't be sitting here. Then God can use us. So that is what I wanted to share. I don't know if anyone has any questions for me. Any questions?
So this event, it will be taking place at the convention center.
That is a good question. No, we will not be at the convention center. NATO will be at the convention center. We were actually given the armory. Isn't that interesting? The armory. That's why I told you that story. We were actually given the armory. But unfortunately, because NATO is coming to town, the armory got activated and we lost the armory. So we are right now planning for tents in front of the armory. We will be in tents, air-conditioned tents. However, I'm going to ask you guys to pray about something. And Betsy, I haven't even told you this. So in one of the meetings that happened today, we've all been a little bit nervous about the tent situation. God can make anything happen, and that's what I feel very strongly about. However, it would be from the budget's perspective, we don't have the money for this, but God can take care of that mountain and that giant as well. But some of the logistics and some of the Department of Health Services, it would be a huge blessing if this happened to be God's will. One of the gentlemen I met with this morning told me that there is a venue, a very, very large warehouse. They had talked to us about this before, and we had been told it wasn't available. He said He contacted his friend. Interestingly enough, this is another reason that I told you the story that I did. It is a clubhouse. It's a place where people go and dance and do all kinds of interesting things and have huge concerts. And this gentleman loves what we are going to do, the owner of the facility, and he gave an ultimatum to the people who have a soft hold until tomorrow. From this morning until tomorrow morning, they have 24 hours to get back to him. If they don't, he's pulling it from them and giving it to us. So I am asking that if you wouldn't mind, we're supposed to have a final word by tomorrow's close of business before Sabbath, that if it's the Lord's will, and I don't know that it's God's will, I don't know, whatever that is, whatever God's will is, that if it is his will, that he would give us this facility. And what a powerful statement. What a powerful, powerful statement. Yet again, God wants, I really think he wants to take us out of our comfort zone, out of our prejudice. You know, we all have little prejudices here and there. He wants to take us out of that and take us to something special. So in answer to your question, we will have the definition of where our location, mañana. But today, we're asking for prayer until tomorrow. Any other questions? Registration. Please go to the registration and get registered as soon as possible if you want to participate in the tour. That now I know we're gonna have to cut that one off pretty soon. So if you want to participate in the Liberty of Conscience tour, we have quite a number of our theologians, our historians, our attorneys that will be wonderfully looking at all of the different aspects of Washington, D.C. We're finalizing that, but I do need that list ASAP. So there's two registration forms. There's a registration for the tour and there's a registration to volunteer. If we definitely need everybody to volunteer, but again, if you want to participate in the tour, please make sure you go to the website libertyandhealth.org for both registrations. Yes, Betsy.
Yes, you might want to share with them how we deal with housing.
Oh, yes. Okay. Housing is a very, very good question. So we have a couple of our ladies, Michaela. I think, Betsy, were you working with Michaela on that too, a little bit?
Yeah, I haven't really.
I'll let you, if you have any additional things to add to what I'm saying, then please fill in. So we have different options as far as housing. I'm excited about something. When we flew into town, this is how God is trying to cure me of my infirmities. We flew into town. I had me and my children, my parents ended up flying in the next day. And we got in at 10 o'clock at night. This is 2 nights ago. I thought, okay, no big deal. We'll go to the hotel. We have the extended stay. It has a mini kitchen. We'll have, you know, some little food and big fridge and we'll be okay. We have a little stove. Get off the plane. They gave away my car. So we were stuck at the airport. We were stuck at the airport until 12:30 in the morning. Finally, they give us a car. We get to the hotel. The kids are exhausted after flying all day and all night at this point. Finally get to the car or to the hotel. It's like 1:15 in the morning. Come in. I'm sorry, ma'am. Your hotel has been canceled. I said, excuse me? I got these kids. We need to go to bed and we haven't slept or eaten anything. No, I'm sorry. Your hotel room is canceled. There's nothing we can do for you. I was like, oh, great. Okay, thank you. So I'm like, Lord, help. I'm driving from hotel to hotel at 1:30 in the morning. Nothing is available. Everything is sold out. I went to one hotel. Oh, yeah, we may have a room, but it's $730 a night. I was like, oh, okay, thank you. So I'm like, are we going to sleep in the car tonight, God? And so finally, someone helped me find a Comfort Inn. I think it was God, Comfort Inn and Suites. Long story short, the company, it was a wonderful, wonderful option. It's a little drive. It's about 15 to 20 minutes based on traffic, 15 minutes less traffic from downtown. And they're offering to us at $110 a night, which is pretty good for DC for summer. I mean, it's not perfect, but it sure is a lot better than the other rooms that we were looking at, 300, 400, 500, insane prices. This is it has a suite side, and then there's other rooms that are more like hotels, but there's a full breakfast downstairs. We're planning to tell them what we want. We're plant-based, by the way. I don't know wherever people stand. That's your business, but we will be asking them to make our plant-based breakfast. So we're going to have that as an option. We're going to basically take over the whole kitchen. So that'll be a neat option as far as the breakfasts are concerned. Now, as far as the rest of the housing, Michaela is working on trying to get even less expensive housing for some of our people from out of town as well. Talking to our Washington University, I think is the name of it, in the dormitories there. We're still working out those details, but some of the things, more things to pray about. But those are a couple of things that we have at this point. Yes?
So how many people do you expect for that event?
That's a good question too. It all depends on how many volunteers. Okay, so there's never a shortage of people. Jesus said, the poor you will always have with you. I mean, I cannot tell you, when we did Los Angeles, we had 5,000 volunteers and there were probably 20,000 patients that showed up. We were able to service 8,500 in 2.5 days. That's a huge number of people, but double that. So literally, if you provide them the love of God, they will come, literally. So it's entirely dependent on the number of volunteers. So that's why I'm coming to you guys. Go out, reach out to your family, your friends all over the country, wherever they are, here, anywhere, and beg them to come. And I promise the other thing is, they don't have to be Adventists. Many people have felt disgruntled for whatever reason, one reason or the other. There was a lady, I remember, in Phoenix, we had 3 with our Youth for Truth program, and 3 of the young people, one of which had been a Catholic, had no association with, pretty much no association with Christians, hardly. And she stayed through the Youth for Truth. We studied, and she was getting baptized, and 2 of the other young people, the other Youth for Truth, were getting baptized on that Sabbath with Pastor Ron Kelly. An older woman walked up to me the last day of the clinic, and we had announced if there was any other people that would be interested in baptism, please let us know. A woman walked up to me, and probably maybe early 60s, and she said, "I'd like to be your 4th baptism." I said, "Really?" She goes, "Yes. Is it okay if you can you squeeze in one more person?" I said, "Well, we'd love to have more people give their heart to Jesus. What is your story?" She says, "I was a Seventh-day Adventist for many years. About 30 years ago, I left the church for one reason or the other, and I didn't want anything to do with it. I've been volunteering because one of her relatives invited her to come. She was a nurse, invited her to come. She volunteered. She says, if this is what Seventh-day Adventism is, Christianity, I want back in. This is my home. I'm finally home. I'm finally home." So don't be shy about inviting your friends and your family that you've been working with, that they know you and you know them, because coming to this transforms people's lives. And that's just one story. There's many stories like that. For the clinic itself, so the app, oh, there's a little buggy here. I just, yeah, that's okay. I just surprised me a little bit. So, okay.
Oh, that's a stink bug.
A stink bug, okay. Okay, well, I forgot, what was the question? Oh, the hours, yes, the hours. Okay, so the clinic actually runs from 7 to 4 p.m. So 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. However, people ask, well, do we have to volunteer for all 3 days? Nobody has to do anything. We live in a free America, and we're all free moral agents. However, it's to your benefit. It's to everyone's benefits and the patient's benefits to volunteer, if you can, all 3 days as much as possible, because here's what happens. Between now and then, you develop a relationship with your department head. So as soon as you register to volunteer, you'll receive a notice from within a short period of time, from your department head about specifics. Then you'll start having Zoom meetings, okay, up and preceding this event. And we're only 4 months away at this point. I mean, less than 4 months now. So we're coming up close. It's going to go by really fast. So you'll start to receive notices, then you'll have Zoom meetings, and then you'll be trained ahead of time. When you come to the event, you're training on that the night before the event. Remember, we talked about that. There's the 10th. On the 10th is a setup day, but also that evening is the final training session, if you will. And that night you'll get your final instructions of what to do. And that first day is a little clunky. Okay, I'll be honest, it's clunky for all of us. It's kind of like we're all learning to work together, and we've all come from all over the country, and some of us from around the world, and we're just all learning to be a big happy family. Nobody's angry, but it's just a little clunky. There's little difficulties to work out. By the second day, those things are worked out. By the third day, it's running like a ship. So it is a benefit to be able to, if you can, to volunteer the whole time. Any other questions?
Specifically, you know, the areas, medical areas,
The medical areas?
broken down, yeah. Well, what about non-medical areas? No, for people, would you want to
Nurse, yes, okay, so the number one sought after service is dentistry. Every city we've ever gone to, dentistry. We need dentists, we need dental hygienists, we need dental assistants, we need people to volunteer in the dental department. Dentistry is number one, there's no question. We need vision care, optometrists, ophthalmologists, opticians. That's also very, very sought after. The reason is because most insurance companies don't necessarily cover vision and dental. And then medical, nurses, I mean, you name it, physicians, assistants, PAs, LPNs, anybody willing to help. As far as our specialties go, we have a full radiology department. So we actually do have x-rays on site. We have a cardiologist. We have a full echocardiogram machine, ultrasound. So we're doing full cardiac workups. It's literally a hospital on wheels. This is not what we think of. We will be doing health expos on the mall because we cannot do actual medical care on the national property. So there will be little health expos on the mall. But the mega clinic is not a health expo. It is a hospital. So it is, well, it's a hospital on wheels. It's literally everything under one roof. Pastors, beauticians, barbers, I mean, you name it, it's there. So if you find people willing to volunteer in any area, please recommend that they register.
There is a way that they get temporary licensure for.
Yeah, they will need to do that. So the sooner the medical people register, we need that right away. Because that's actually, that's another thing to pray about. Two things I'm asking you guys to pray about, two things. This issue with this Event DC individual and the, whatever you want to call it, nightclub building. And then the Department of Health Services meeting tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m., I'm meeting with the Department of Health Services, and they are the ones that will decide for our temporary licensure, for our out-of-state, all of our out-of-state providers, anything, massage therapists, anything. All licensure is meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. So that's a special one to pray for. But yes, that's why we ask that everyone as soon as possible get on the website and register so that we can get you plugged in through the appropriate licensure aspects.
I'm just curious, how do you deal with insurance?
Good question. So we do carry both a general liability coverage, a high GL coverage, but we also have medical malpractice coverage of a $1 million, $3 million coverage. And we've been doing that for a long time. There was a period of time when we were working with risk management, and the policy was actually 10 and 10, which I thought was excessive. All of the rest of us physicians practice on a 1-3 policy, so everybody's covered.
You just missed worrying about licensure. Okay, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Because you're licensed RN, yeah.
Yeah, so they're actually, I think as I understand it, Virginia, Maryland, and District of Columbia have a compact relationship.
Right.
But as soon as possible, if you're wanting to participate, please go in, get registered, and our head of licensure, Dr. Rosalind Martin, reaches out to all of our medical individuals and works with appropriate boards to help and make sure that we have appropriate licensure.
So for future potential patients, they just walk in or?
It's first come, first serve. Yes, absolutely. It's first come, first serve. I'll tell you what, the patients show up even almost 24 hours in advance. And lest you think that no one is actually going to follow up from this area, regularly, we have people that will drive 6+ hours based on the publicity. It's free healthcare, and people are having a hard time. The economy's had a big hit, and this is before the economy hit. When we did San Antonio, there were people that drove 8 hours. There was actually a person that, this is the craziest thing in the world. There was a person that was treated, and when we did the event in Spokane, 7 months later, we did an event in Los Angeles. He kept up with us because the people follow, they follow along. He kept up with us, found out we were coming to Los Angeles. He actually bought himself a $39 flight or $50 flight and flew to LA, got in line and got services so that he could get medical care again. So these people follow, but the biggest thing is the follow-up evangelistically. So lest you think no one would, well, how are we going to follow up from all the way up here? It's all up to the local church. If you guys invite your church members from this area to bring them down, to come down, then you follow up with them afterwards. Let's say you go out to the neighborhood and you're like, hey, this dental and medical and eye vision care event is happening. We'd love for you to come. They come, they get their services, and then this church becomes what we call a health information center. This is where those local people that you reached out to would pick up their glasses, they'll pick up their pathology reports, their lab results, and then you offer them ongoing health classes and spiritual health classes. And that resulted, when that process has been very much followed, the reaping results, the final awareness of God's true love, the holistic love, is phenomenal. San Antonio, there were 137 baptisms as a direct result of patients. Those were patients who came to the event, followed it all the way through the whole process. 7 churches were planted. So it works, and people, like I said, we had churches that were planting and actually had member growth over 2 hours away. Sorry, Betsy, real quick.
I just wanted to suggest that you tell a little bit about Franco.
Yes, actually, I'll let you come up, Betsy, because you were the one that helped acquaint us together.
Well, I'll just share briefly because there's still a lot of things to be worked out.
I think Franco works here, doesn't he? As a lay, he's the student lay pastor, I think. He is going to be working with Liberty and Health this summer. And he's going to be doing groundwork and then working with an evangelism program afterwards. That isn't all worked out yet, but that's the plan. And then follow up with different churches in the area. Maybe you can share a little bit more what that's going to look like.
So we had a wonderful opportunity of actually meeting with 4 pastors today in the DC area. Didn't tell you that one yet either, Betsy. That was very exciting. It was very exciting, actually. And there were 2 more that I've already met with. One I'll be presenting at church on Sabbath. And one of them, this is very interesting. One of them is the spouse of the Associate Ministerial Director for the North American Division. So I think that we have the opportunity of participating with our church in a beautiful way. Sometimes things get a little confusing in the process, but we have the opportunity, just as we do with all people, of directing to God's true plan. And it's a really, really neat opportunity. So Franco is going to have the opportunity of working with these pastors and working with several others as well. And anyone else that wants to get involved, I know Franco needs assistance. I know he's talked about that he'd like to have a team. We would like to get the Youth for Truth program with him, at least for a short period of time. He wants to train medical and gospel evangelists. I know we're only 4 months away, but again, if there's any young people that want to participate, it really is a phenomenal program. Working with, also shepherded by Ron Meinhardt and Pastor Ron, I guess Dr. Ron Kelly now, and some other individuals as well. Any other questions? Sorry, go ahead. I know you were trying to ask earlier.
The food service is just for the volunteers or medical group, or just for also to the patient?
Very good question. It's for everyone. So anyone that's in the building between the noon hour, it's usually like 11:30 to 1, gets a free meal. And when we've done it right, when it's been done right, we shut the whole thing down. It was so beautiful in San Antonio. The whole thing was shut down. We all sang Amazing Grace. That was patients and volunteers together, had the blessing, patients ate, the doctors and the dentists and whatever went back to their services, because every minute that passes by is one less patient that can be serviced, and that line out there is long. So, but it was a beautiful thing. So, but in answer to your question, it's for everyone. Lord willing, that giant can be overcome too, because there's all kinds of hurdles with that. But that's what we've done so far by God's grace with every event we've ever done since 2013.
Okay, so it's gonna be just lunch, or you offer breakfast too?
Well, that's what I was saying. The breakfast, no, not for the patients. The breakfast would be available for people who stayed at the hotel, there at the Comfort Inn. You had a question? I'm sorry. So right now we already have we already have friends. We already have cardiology, women's health, primary care, pediatrics. I mean, you name it. It's whatever. It's all dependent on who shows up. Everything is dependent. The services provided are contingent on the volunteers, and that goes for all the services. When we first had the first time we had beautician and barber services, a young woman called me up on the phone and she said, you know, I'm not medical. Never, you know, we hadn't had that before. It's 2017. The previous events had not had that. And she said, you know, I'm a beautician. I just cut hair, and you probably can't have any use for me. And do you think anyone would even want to have? I said, absolutely. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. So we added it to the list. I didn't figure she would have many people. You know, she was the third sought after service. She and her department we ended up having like 4 or 5 different beauticians, and they were cutting hair like crazy. And in fact, there was another individual in Spokane actually after that gave his heart to Jesus, and he ended up getting baptized because he was transformed from the outside, starting on his outside and working to change his inside. And he went from like a homeless guy with long hair and all these kinds of funny things, and he came in, he got his brand new men's suit, he got his hair cut, he went straight from there to a job placement agency, he got a job, his life was transformed, and he gave his heart to Jesus.
Do you have any plans of holding this event in northern New Jersey or?
Well, well, that's another thing to pray about. Yeah, I just got a call yesterday, and there's the possibility of working, and we'll know on this coming Tuesday, actually, working with Pastor Doug Batchelor for New York for the 2024 event. So I don't know, guys. I don't know how long before Jesus comes back. I don't think any of us do, but it sure seems like it's speeding up. And I know that means that he needs us to get ready to speed up too. So I think I'll let you close out with prayer, Betsy.
We have one more video.
Oh my goodness, yes, let's play that video. Yes, thank you for reminding me of that. I haven't even seen this video yet.
Calling all mission-minded Christians. Are you ready for something truly extraordinary? Liberty and Health Alliance is coming to our nation's capital, July 11th through the 15th. This mega clinic and conference will be a once-in-a-generation event, bringing 100% free medical, dental, and vision care, along with God's message of liberty and freedom to thousands in need. This will be our biggest undertaking ever, and we can't do it alone. We can only seize this opportunity with your help. To make this happen, we're going to need more medical professionals, more volunteers, and more partners than ever before to join us in prayer and in financial support to turn this incredible opportunity into a reality. So join us, and let's show Washington, D.C. what God's love in action truly looks like. Visit our website now at libertyandhealth.org to donate, volunteer, and learn more. That's libertyandhealth.org.
You have another question?